Okay, it's all set.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today is November 16th. It's approximately 1:03 p.m., November 16th, 2021. Welcome to the Plumbing Piping Work Examining Board special meeting with the Department of Consumer Protection. At this time, we have minutes of our last meeting on October 28th. And I'd like the board members to review and let us know if there's any changes that they have or any discussion there, or make a motion to accept.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept the October as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Motion by Chris Bowman, second by Pete Alfieri on the minutes of October 28th. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Deny. Abstain. Okay, all set. Thank you. This is getting easier after 15 years. Okay, so the next on the agenda is a request for a well water variance. As you remember, in the last board meeting, we had Aaron Nakbar and Chris Bowman, our board members, to go out and assess the property with Julie Burdacki over at the Chesprocott Health District. And I'll let, if it's all right, I'd like to start with, so with Julie, and I know we have a discussion, Aaron, in reference to a slight discussion about the well drilling regulations, correct? And that might be involved with some of the similar information we're going to be providing in the next few minutes here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We did have
So,
a little.
yeah. So Julie, is Julie with us?
Mhm. Yep.
She is.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Hi, Julie. Welcome to the board. We'd love to have you stay on board just to, if it's okay, to discuss that future reg change that we'd like to do in our package shortly. So it'll affect a lot of the, hopefully, if it goes through, the sanitarians throughout the state of Connecticut. So you'll be the first to hear this. So
Sounds good, thank you.
thank you for coming. Aaron, would you start with Chris? You take the lead and let us know how you made out with Julia on the site out in Woolcott.
Sure, we met up last week, and Julie and myself and Chris reviewed the site and site conditions, took a couple measurements, and there's a location that I see that will meet setbacks from both the neighbor's septic and this case is it is the driveway, and it is adjacent to a very small outcropping of bedrock, but the entire yard is really shallow to bedrock. So in my opinion, it looks like a variance wouldn't be needed if the well is moved to the other side of the driveway.
Okay, so where Mr. Seema had marked it, you're asking for a variance from this board to approve a different location. Is that correct?
Yeah, a variance wouldn't be necessary if the permittee moved to the other side of the driveway. There's no real hardship there. There's a compliant location for a well. It's a safe place to set up a drill rig. There's room for work. I understand that nobody wants to cross the driveway, and they might have to hammer a little bit of ledge, but there's a compliant location.
Chris, you were out there with Aaron, so you had a chance to look at all that too. What's that? is there a major hardship financially here at all with any of this work, guys, that that's going on here at all? Will the family be able to afford all these things that need to eventually happen with a HO-RAM and stuff like that?
If I can talk on that, Chuck, we don't know what the financial impact is on that, but as Aaron said, we did find a suitable location that would work, or they could do some type of filtration, a UV system, or something like that, because I think the worst thing they have there is a magnesium problem, if I'm corrected, reading the well report.
Okay,
There was manganese present in the water, sulfate, and they had an occasional coliform. The well casing is not extended above current, above grade there. There are some things that could be done to probably improve the quality of the water there. And based on the water analysis, the water quality really isn't that terrible. These are things they do, and it's a guaranteed goal, is to treat the water that they have. It sounded like that there was a quantity issue there. So my first suggestion would be to treat the water. If they want to drill a new well, they should move to that goal in both quantification.
Aaron, we're getting negative feedback, so I'm getting every other word from you at this point. Can you hear me?
We can't hear you that well.
Yeah, I hear you fine. I'm on a site with sketchy service.
Okay. Chris, maybe you could add to Aaron what he was saying. Did you catch any of that, or you were absolutely on site? So you guys discussed the existing well, and was there a flow rate there? So why do they need a new well? Why couldn't they just, knowing that if you're going to move a well a certain amount of distance over, it's usually for lack of quantity or yield in a well, I'm assuming. But if you drill a well 20, 30 feet away or wherever it's being proposed to put, you're still going to probably get that same quality of water, which is still going to require that filtration system. Is that correct? Do we know why the well, or maybe Julia could jump in on that as well, find out what, if their well yields were done by anybody to see why we're drilling a new well there?
I think Julie might have the answer. I don't have the answer to that. The only thing we noticed is as the existing well is underground, and from the well reports that we received, there was a magnesium problem and a chloroform problem, which we felt by treating with UV and chlorinating the well, that would solve the problem, and the magnesium would have to have some other type of treatment. If Julie would step in now, that'd be great.
Thank you, Chris, for that. Julia, did you hear Mr. Bowman's request?
Yes,
Thank you.
the property owner hasn't reported a yield problem on this particular well. Their concern is that they've been having consistent trouble with treating the bacteria in the well, and that well is approximately 35 feet from the septic system that was installed. That septic system is obviously improved compared to the previous cesspool, but it seems to be that the problems have started shortly thereafter that septic system was installed.
So so coliform, it could be caused from the septic system. It's not just natural fertilizer. I always thought for some reason nitrate was the issue that we always dealt with from septic feces backing into a well. Do you think if a proper extension casing was put in, and obviously it sounds like they already tried to chlorinate the well, how did they access the well to chlorinate and not take care of the extension casing at the same time? That's what I have a question about too.
That was my question. If they were chlorinating the well, they've got to dig it up, and this didn't appear that anybody had dug it up recently.
Is it a two pipe system, Aaron, or is it a submersible down inside that borehole?
Did go in the house, nobody was home. So I don't know for sure, Jeff, but you know, and they make 2-line pitlesses. Or I would start with a well extension and a chlorination, and suggest that they follow up for the test. The manganese can be fairly easily treated, and if the bacteria recurs, an ultraviolet could be installed. But
I mean, it makes sense, you know, the chlorination time over time, the amount of labor that's involving to do a proper disinfection of a well, allowing it to sit for 3 hours, flushing it for a week. It's really, you know, I would differ 15 years ago, but today with the cost of everything, UV is kind of the way to go when it costs, you know, and know that you're going to get 100%. I'm just trying to look at the manganese levels on this water. What were they? 0.248, is that what you came up with, Julia, from the analysis?
I have a couple of different tests. Let me just pull them up.
Thank you.
there was an increasing trend on the manganese. There was an increasing trend on the sulfate. I would attribute that to the increased rainfall this year. We didn't have any historical data on the well going back some years. That was why I had asked, they were longtime residents, if they ever had water testing done prior to the installation of the new septic to correlate. But regardless, water treatment will give them a guarantee. A new well is not going to give them a guarantee.
Right. Right. And they would spend an awful lot of money, this family, when they could still have to treat it. The UV, I get it. That might be in a new well, new clean. A disinfection might work prior. I mean, I don't see a hardship here. If we don't see a flow rate issue, and it's coliform, not nitrate of any sort, I think, you know, having the extension brought up out of the ground with a welded connection with an approved DPH well pitless adapter, whether, you know, obviously you're probably going to want to go to a two pipe, I mean, a single pipe pitless from a two pipe. I mean, it makes sense to, but in all fairness, that you're going to need a flow rate, a good flow rate, if you're going to put a softener in there, where a submersible pump will give you that for the backwash mechanism timing, right? I mean, that's an opinion of mine. What do you think, Aaron and Chris? Starting with Aaron.
I agree with you. I think I wouldn't choose a softener there. I think MTM would take care of their manganese and their sulfur odor, followed by an ultraviolet. They would need to provide someplace for it to backwash. So maybe simple mechanical filtration prior to the UV air would be adequate. And it would be a heck of a lot less expensive. They did have low pH and something else. There was some I think it was nitrate water, but it wasn't outlandish. It would be more indicative of surface water, you know, a high scene. Sodium and chlorides were very low, given many you know, paved areas around and shallow perched water table there. I was very surprised that it had low sodium and chlorides.
Yeah, I see the nitrate is 3.13, where obviously the limit's around 10. So, the pH 6, well, on one particular test I'm looking at is a 6.3, 6.29, 6.37. That's right on the verge of a calcor mix versus calcite by itself in a media vessel. I think they could really treat this. And neutralizer, we can backwash into the septic system. A softener, we can't. Now, Aaron, I did not catch the name of the alternative method you just mentioned. What was the name of that media or the tank or the vessel that you spoke about?
And what we call MTM, manganese treatment media. It's similar to green
MTM?
sand. Yeah, it's much lighter. There's also green sand plus that they could use, do the same thing. Although code-wise, I could backwash that to the septic. I would not recommend it. I think they have a hybrid septic system, and I really don't recommend backwashing any of these systems into the hybrid septic systems.
Would that be a question for the
Julie
public?
might know better than I do.
Would that be a question, Julia, for the private water supply division of the Department of Health? That question about putting it into that type of system? Because we do want to talk about trying to get rid of, do a backwash on that manganese.
Yeah, so anything that would need a backwash, anything that would backwash, regardless of if it's into the septic system or its own set of, leach fields, would not be able to meet the 75-foot setback. Specifically to the MTM, I'm not familiar with it, so I would have to ask. It's usually the environmental engineering department that I ask the questions of, in terms of what can or can't go into a septic system.
Now, Aaron, here's a question for you. Do you remember the days of the multi-blend where we had
Yes.
the ag, berm, neutralizer, Corasex, and berm material all in one bed? It was an aeration system. That is not using, that takes out manganese, takes out iron, raises pH. We sold them for many years, starting in the mid 80s. I still maintain a lot of those systems today. It's, instead of just using, and I know what you mean about the MTM. We used to use that. We used to actually, back in the early 80s, we used to use these little Brunner 1 cubic foot units, and we'd have a neutralizer, what we used to call an AN unit, followed by an M unit, which was your green sand filter. It had a media of 1 cubic foot of green sand. They work great. You manually backwash them with a hose every 3 or 4 months out your backyard, just cleaning it, rinsing it, going the other route manually. Now they make them automatic, which has been a great godsend. So that might be an alternative for them as well. I just thought of it. I mean, I should have known, but I rarely use it. Probably 5% of my filtration systems are this technology, but there's an alternative where they can raise the pH and take all the manganese and iron, berm, and it also takes out odor out of that whole complex set of media. That might be a way to go for them too, Aaron. Would you think, Chris?
Absolutely, Chuck. And multi-blend would work great there with an AIO style head or
Yes.
even just a Venturi.
Roger that.
That would be also work well.
Get rid of that odor. It gets dispersed with an aeration unit. Exactly. So it doesn't, yeah, that's a great idea. We put one in every few years, but yep, the aeration unit. I think there's an alternative. I think these people should be able to kind of use their well, get an extension casing done, open up that head of that well, take the vent connection on top of that well seal and use that to put down, if they want to get a flow test before you start taking the system apart, they should be able to get a flow test on that well to determine the static and the recovery rate of that well without, if they want to test the well for a, or of course, there's other means of doing it too, if you want to get a flow rate recovery of the well.
Absolutely.
Okay, So, at the end of the day, I mean, I think we're saving these people a tremendous amount of money. Flow rate's going to be everything. It's not been a complaint. There's ways to treat this without a softener and putting in a dry well device. They can take care of their UV if they want to take, once they got that extension casing on there, they can dump that chlorine in there, shock it, flush it. That manganese is obviously going to be a discoloration for at least a week to 10 days till that is dissipated out. And I would definitely probably do that before you add any media to anything, because we don't want the media to get hurt by the over chlorinization of the shocking of the well. What do you guys think of that? You, Chris and Aaron, I know that's kind of your fortes a little bit with Nate here.
I agree with
I
that.
think that's,
I think that's the way to go.
that's the,
Julia,
I agree. I think
what
that's
do you
smart
think?
move.
Yeah, does the family have any other issues with this well or anything else? I mean, with all that ledge and everything, this really might be a wonderful option for them to have.
The homeowner had indicated that he's lived in this house his entire life and there hadn't been any issues previously. I'm not sure if that's because they've never tested it before. I know they started testing it because they were looking to get a cottage foods license and make some food out of the house. I'm not sure if that's also what had prompted the septic system repair when it was done. Really their major complaint is that the water has been unpleasant and soapy tasting.
Soapy testing. Vinny,
Just want to move back towards the question, which is, should we allow an alternate location? I believe we've gone through great effort to go out and visit the site. It's been determined that there is a suitable location. I don't know that we want to keep engineering the system for them. That's really not our job. I think I would like to move to the question and vote on the question, please.
okay. All right. All right, somebody want to make a motion on the new well?
The motion that they're to relocate the well to the other side of the driveway where the three of us that putting it, rather than where the front yard was by the house.
Second.
Is that across the driveway, Chris?
Yes.
Okay. Aaron, were you saying? Okay, I'm sorry.
I'll
Peter?
second that. Oh, Pete's got his hand up. Pete's got his hand up.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Chairman, or maybe Aaron or Chris can answer this. How far away is the new location that you guys pointed out from the septic system?
It's about 80 feet, 80 plus feet to their
Oh.
own septic system. It is 75 feet from the neighbor's tank.
75 feet is the law?
75 feet is code.
So that's,
Alright.
so it's acceptable location then.
Let's give them the okay for the new location, and we're following the law.
I
But,
second the motion based on the recommendations from Aaron and Chris.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor of drilling the new well in the new location across the driveway? Say aye.
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 Deny? Abstain? So moved. Okay, Julia, we have you're on mute. We have a approval for the family to drill new well in that new location as discussed.
Thank you all. I appreciate all your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Karen, can you follow up with Julia if she needs a document from the Department of Consumer Protection Plumbing Board as to, okay, the relevance of this for her to approve that permit for that family as soon as possible? Thank you. Thank you, Julia. Why don't you hang on a little while if you don't mind? I'd like to take a 5-minute recess at this time if I could. Is that okay with board members?
Sure. 5 minutes?
Sure.
5 minutes. I have a personal matter I have to take care of.
Okay, we'll hang on 5 minutes. Yep, you got it.
Yep, it's
I'll just
1:28.
I'll just pause the recording.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we're back on. So does anybody else have anything to discuss in reference to the property in Wolcott? Okay, at this time, Cynthia, we have you today, who's been working on our well drilling regulations. I believe the Connecticut Water Well Association, through Representative Aaron Akbar from our board, has made comments in reference to that, to the reg package. Aaron, would you like to discuss that?
An amendment. I tried to enter through public comment, successful, so I sent it to Cynthia, and I believe it was answered on my behalf. We also got association of some members, and basically, it consisted of adding a line prior to this section where I don't have the paperwork with me. I'm out in the middle of nowhere here. Section where we are given the power to grant an exception through the well board, through the plumbing board. Simply a line prior to that variance replacement well permits on existing houses where the dimensions as stated in the health cannot be met due to a hardship. Simply a one long sentence in front of that, and then I meant it to be, if that didn't work out, then it reverts back to the existing process where it would have to, any other exception request would have to come before the court. It gives local level people the ability to get things done based on common sense.
Okay, hang on, Aaron. I believe Peter is waving to us. Peter?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, but can we table that until we can have another meeting, or can Aaron get into a better location? Because I am not picking up enough to be able to understand it and to be any value to you. I'm sorry.
Is there?
I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I'm not hearing it.
I get
Here.
a pretty good indication from Aaron. He is saying that they had put a line item in. He had given Cynthia Fernandez the information because he could not find a way to put it onto the page, Peter. And that my next question was going to be, because if we table it one more time, the public comment time for these regulations ends shortly. And I'm not sure if we can schedule a meeting before it goes over to the Attorney General for a signature. So I was hoping perhaps Cynthia could elaborate on the next step and what Mr. Nakbar had requested of her. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So the comment that was forwarded to me by Aaron, he's right. He was unable to submit it online for some reason. I did forward it. He sent it to me directly, so I forwarded it to Jerry Padula. And the comments period closes on the 22nd, so I think that's next Monday. But Jerry doesn't do anything with the comments he's received so far until that period closes. Then, he goes through them all and incorporates them or not. So at this point, there hasn't been any movement until that 30-day period closes.
Thank you.
Can I just add to that? I'm sorry. It's Leslie O'Brien.
Hi, Leslie. Welcome aboard.
Hi there, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to add to what Cynthia just mentioned and say that we review. So once Attorney Padula receives all of these comments and the public comment period closes, the department reviews the comments to figure out what makes sense to incorporate and what doesn't.
So
Thank
what
you.
is it that we want to add to the, I didn't catch the part that we want to add.
Cynthia, do you have that sentence from Mr. Nakbar that he had requested?
You know, I thought I had it in my file in front of me. It's in my email. If you give me 2 seconds, I can pull it up.
Absolutely, thank you.
I would be happy to email it to all of you when I get back to a real computer.
I'm surprised you don't have a real computer inside a $1 million drilling rig.
I'm sitting in the old water truck.
No. Yeah, Peter, that was my next question, was what was the language in there, but I was going to let Cynthia, since she, yeah, but it's good. I appreciate that. Thanks.
No problem.
I haven't looked at the public comments page to see if it's actually up. And if Jeremiah and a couple other people may have also reiterated it.
Okay, so I have it in front of me. It's like you said, it's basically one long sentence at the end of section 25-128-63, which covers exemption from construction standards. It starts out special circumstances or hardships. I could read out the entire section, or I could read out what Aaron is proposing to add at the end.
Would you mind if you could read out the whole section? That way
Sure,
we know
sure.
where it blends into what's existing and what's being added, please.
Okay.
Thank
So,
you.
okay, so local directors of health may use their discretion to issue replacement well permits in cases where meeting health code separation distances is not possible or would create an undue hardship. This is what's existing. In the event, or at least for the proposed regs, in the event that the health director is unable to act upon the permit request as provided in section 25-133 of the Connecticut General Statutes as amended, where the board finds that compliance with the regulations and construction standards adopted herein would result in undue hardship, an exemption from any one or more of the standards may be granted by the board to the extent necessary to ameliorate such undue hardship, and to the extent such exception can be granted without impairing the intent and purpose of the regulations. An application for a special exemption shall be made to the office of the board and shall be in writing on a form to be supplied by the board. The application shall include all information regarding circumstances and conditions of construction of the well as the board deems necessary. The decision of the board to grant or deny the exemption requested in whole or in part shall be made within 30 days, and the board shall notify the applicant by certified mail of its decision. Now, this is the proposed added language from Aaron. Exemptions may only be granted by the board pertaining to the requirements of Chapter 482 of the Connecticut General Statutes and the regulations promulgated thereunder, and without violating Chapter 368A of the Connecticut General Statutes and the regulations promulgated thereunder.
Okay.
That's it.
And Cynthia, where is the line item that Aaron and the Connecticut Water Well Association gentlemen put in? What was their language, please?
Yeah, that last section, exemptions may only be granted by the board pertaining to the requirements of Chapter 482 of the Connecticut General Statutes and the regulations promulgated thereunder, and without violating Chapter 368A of the Connecticut General Statutes and the regulations promulgated thereunder.
Okay.
We suggested the first line that Cynthia read. The last part was also done as part of the ongoing code revision, but the recent change that I just suggested under public comment was the first sentence that Cynthia read, which pertained to local health directors.
Okay, so that sentence is local directors of health may use their discretion to issue replacement well permits in cases where meeting health code separation distances is not possible or would create an undue hardship.
That's it.
Okay,
And I think that would solve a lot of issues and cut back a lot of traffic coming to the plumbing board for things that can be solved simply in the health departments.
I agree.
And it's their regulations. It's their code that is the issue.
the well driller still has to go out, locate everything, work with the sanitarian, still has to be signed off by a sanitarian. If there's a hardship there, it can be then discussed between the driller and the sanitarian of record or health district, whoever's in charge of that jurisdiction. Does that make sense to the board?
Yeah, it does to me.
Yes, it
Vinny, you
Yes.
okay with it?
If it's leaving the responsibility with the public health, I was looking for this document that was just read. Was that shared with the board? Or we're just having it read to us?
It's a new comment period, Vinny. This is something that, because we just got notification, I believe all board members got the drilling regulations. Did it come through Karen or did it come through Cynthia to the board members, the regs in the past, I think 3 weeks to a month?
It came through, I believe I got mine from Cynthia. I did not post the public comment to the board, but I would be happy to send it out to everybody.
So I didn't see it on today's agenda and I haven't seen what was just read, but I certainly rely on the other board members' expertise that this is something that doesn't give the board more responsibility, because not all of us are as expert in well drilling. So, the majority of us not having the knowledge that DPH or the sanitarians have, I wouldn't want to accept any more responsibility. So I'm agreeing from what I've heard, but I'm a pretty tactile person, would like to see it and read it before I vote on it. It's just having it read once isn't
Understood.
enough.
Now, this is a comment made, is this something that actually gets voted on? I know we wanted this right along. I don't know if we voted on it in the past or if, because obviously we have until November 22nd. It is a comment period. Attorney Padula will be
Okay.
looking into this, right?
Then let
yeah.
me ask this. I mean, if this is merely for discussion and there's no action to be taken today, is that where we're at? We're just kind of putting it on the table as an idea.
It was public comment from the department. Is that correct, Attorney Fernandez?
Right, the public comment period is still open, so anyone, literally anyone from members of the public can submit a comment. And I know that Aaron had a problem submitting it online, so it could be, submitted directly to me. I could forward it to Jerry Padula until, that comment period closes on the 22nd.
What might be helpful is if we had the board's blessing for this little addendum to the regulation, because although it's in public comment, it doesn't mean that Mr. Padula is going to acknowledge it, and it may just be ignored and the regulations adopted. There's nothing per se that says that has to be added. I'd like to do anything that we can to encourage it to decrease the load on the board for these exceptions that can be sorted out at the local level. However, I didn't want to take any power away from the board if local health department really had a beef with something and wanted to defer it up to us. So
No,
that was
it makes all the
my-
sense in the world. And we wanted to keep it simple because we didn't want to make any changes and have it have to go back through committees, back through the governor's office, DEP, DPH and everything. I think, we can certainly vote on it, and that way, Mr. Padula, when it comes time, he can recognize that the board all agreed or not, or what the vote was, to approve this short language to help consumers, help the sanitarians and the plumbing board at the same time. Would somebody like to make a motion on this small language change?
I'll make a motion to adopt this language change and send it up to Mr. Padula that the board favor this and bring it back to the health people where it belongs.
I'll second
Okay.
that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a tie between, is that between Vinnie and Peter or Jay? I'm sorry. Who made
Doesn't
the
matter.
second? Okay.
It wasn't me today, Chuck.
It was me.
Oh, Aaron, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. Peter, I'm going to give it to Peter today, the second. And is there any further discussion on this short language piece? Okay, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Deny. Abstain. So moved. Okay.
Would you mind repeating it just one more time? I want to make sure that I got it right. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, do the
You cut
best.
out a little bit.
Made the motion that we approve the change that goes back to the department and the sanitarian or local health district to make that decision.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Okay. Is Julia still there?
I'm here.
Is she still there? I don't see her.
Yeah.
She is.
She's still-
Okay, great. So you got, we're trying to help the situation, as you can tell through that language. And we'll see where things go soon, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you for spending the time with our board members and helping the consumer solve their potable water issues in your jurisdiction. Cynthia?
Yes.
Hey, so I think we're all set today. Did I hear you might be our new attorney at the plumbing board soon?
Yes, I am. I think I am already.
Okay,
promotion.
so we got you in. Little birdie told me, so that's good. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And okay, I guess that's it for that. So we'll go on to continuing education curriculums and stuff like that, and language and stuff like that.
On this curriculum, talking for a 5-hour period. And if I read it correctly and reviewed it correctly, the people like 777 or code or IMTI will have the discretion to pick and choose over what discuss out of that outline, and they can run their own show.
Well, what they're gonna do is they're gonna put together what they feel. There's a lot there, okay? it's overwhelming. There's quite a bit of stuff there for everybody to get. I call it soup du jour in a way. So that way, each facilitator for the state teaching company can come to the board with their 5-hour curriculum based on some of this language. So like, for instance, under the administrative sections and amendment changes, like I would say, I didn't number them, sorry. It's like number 5, explanation of a Connecticut amendment. I'm going to have all that stuff. Can everybody see this book in front of me? It's a red book.
No.
Can anybody see me?
You got to turn your
No.
camera on, Chuck.
Oh, it's not on. Okay, well, that helps.
No, we haven't seen you all day.
Really?
No, you've been hiding in the shadows,
Oh.
my man. Thought maybe you're having a bad hair day or something.
All right, I don't know why I'm not being able to, as a panelist, you can unmute and start video, which means visible to others. So if I join as a panelist,
You had to ruin it, huh, Jay?
you like the hair? Can you guys see me now?
Yep.
Okay, because I can see Chris's beautiful blue ceiling on his in there on his wall. Can everybody see this book right here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's the Connecticut amendments to the codes. So a lot of that information, I do have that. I was fortunate to get a copy of this when they still printed them over a year ago, and they're unavailable. Otherwise, I'd get a copy for everybody. But I'm going to Staples, and I'm going to have them print and bind everybody's own copy of this for them. Okay. So I'll get a copy to IMTI, to Vinny, to Melissa, to Code, and then the other facilitator, Connecticut Water Well Association. And that'll explain a lot of the Connecticut statutes. What is currently, not to bore everybody, but 2018, what codes we're currently using now. And we know we're going to be going to the 21 next October 1st. But currently this shows the page numbers of what the fuel gas code changes are, the amendments, deletions, all that is in this document for the providers to provide. I have the copies and the outlines of what's amended and what's not, what's going to pertain to our curriculums. It's all there for everyone. Obviously, everybody has the 2015, 2018. Even though we haven't gone to the 18, we're going to go right from the 15 code right now through the 21. The last curriculum that we did brings everybody up to the 18. So we're so far ahead. We're ahead of the building officials out there, right? So they're going to be going right into the 21 next year. There's different books. I was able to get a copy for everybody on the board that was in the committee. The 2021 significant changes from the plumbing and mechanical codes. Okay, and the fuel gas code, which a lot of this will be in those amendments as well. Energy conservation, 2015, going right to the 21. What changes in plumbing for energy conservation and commercial buildings. This might be something Vinny's interested in with the guys when they're building skyscrapers and large commercial jobs. Talks about energy conservation. And as we go, service water heating equipment, there's the outline just on that area. I just want to share that is what the changes are and what's being taught today to the building official for commercial codes. Obviously, here's our mechanical codes that reflect on plumbing, temperatures of water. I don't have to tell you guys what that's all about. But again, here's our IMCs, and we're going to be going to the 21s. So there's a lot of great stuff. But as we go to net zero in this world, as we're all talking about, we're gradually going to get there. We're going to understand where temperatures of water and pipe insulation is going to be required on our stuff. I know Vinny's people, Peter and Jay, and you guys are, and I don't want to forget our new board member as well. Kimberly, I would just want you to know that there's a lot of stuff in there that reflects on what you guys do every day in the commercial sector. It's a pretty wide range. And Vinny, as you start the curriculum for yourself, if there's anything I can do to show you where it is or how to get to it somewhere, let me know.
If I could.
He's got his hand up, yeah.
And I'm going to leave shortly. The draft outline is, it's great that folks can kind of tailor towards their sector of the industry. We appreciate that. I would like to make a motion to accept the CEU curriculum outline as proposed, and then just take it from there. We're doing a bit of makeups. I don't anticipate doing any new classes till after the new year. Give us all the facilitators a chance to make a draft and present to the board for approval. But you could probably run a whole college semester with the subject headers there, but you want to go and choose what's important to your people. So again, I'd like to make a motion to accept the outline as proposed.
Second.
Second Vinnie's motion.
Second Vinnie motion from Jay Moore. Thank you. Is there any discussion on this curriculum? Anything that anybody has any ideas or thoughts about? I know.
I have a question.
Sure.
So there's 8 points on this draft, and of those 8 points, is there anything that must get addressed each continuing ed cycle? Is there like a must do?
Well, I kind of wrote this up, Kimberly. We're in between code cycles and Connecticut was behind. So what I was trying to do is, there's a lot of smaller stuff here about like who can take out a permit, who's exempt, a lot of that stuff, smaller job stuff, the taking the 2015, taking those significant changes and bringing them right up to the 21. Guess what? Next October, halfway through this session coming up, this curriculum cycle, 2-year cycle, halfway, we're going to be adopting the 21. We're going to be right in there. We've already learned the 18. This board took it upon itself two and a half years ago to move this forward. So I, in a way, not to pat the board on the back, but we kept up with the curriculum. We kept up with the curriculi as the state moved the codes up. They did not adopt the 18. They're going to the 21. We already are there. We're going into the 21 head first. And there's certain areas, commercial and residential, I thought that would give everybody a little bit more leeway. Like Vinny said, you got a couple months to come up with different things. All this stuff can be found very easily, very quickly in the proper books, code books, gas piping, electrical bonding. I was just going through some of that stuff in this red book that I showed you earlier, which will be a bound copy. It won't look like it red, it'll be white, but it's going to have everything you'll need to know if you read through it under all the codes. So like we'll have you got ANSI, which I don't even think I have anything in handicap in, but you got the International Plumbing, Mechanical, Energy Conservation Code. And a lot of that stuff has, in this amendment book, has the amendments to some of these books that are in there. Yes, Kimberly.
So my concern being a journey person going to these classes, I want to ensure that I'm getting all of the relevant information that I need in that class. So I don't want to be sitting in that class for 5 hours and it's facilitator's choice and I'm not getting what I absolutely need to get. So my concerns that I'm raising is there something that needs to be flagged on this? Changes to plumbing sections must be taught. Explanation of amendments must be taught. Like, are there must-haves? Because if it's not, and it's kind of dealer's choice, then who's just to say that, the journeymen don't have to go to this continuing ed? They could just get the information for themselves. It's kind of, I would like to ensure that it's still an important course. You have to go and do it. It's not just, well, it's whatever the person decides to do.
Well, Vinny and the team at Local 777 are going to put together, am I right, Vinny? You're going to put together your curriculum as you feel fit.
I believe I understand Kim's concern, and if there's a mandatory minimum or what is prioritized, as really health and safety concern, and those things present themselves as you do the research and building the curriculum. But you kind of answered your own question, is that all mechanics are responsible to know all of the code changes. And it really would be impossible to present them all even in 2 8-hour Saturdays. There's a whole library of books between International Code and the NFPA. So we would identify what we consider, life and safety items you definitely want to put on the table. And each of the curriculums are put before the board for approval. So they should be of substantial content. And if they appear to be fluff, then the board will call that out, saying, this really doesn't present anything pertinent, which never happens because everyone's a professional organization trying to get a point across. So we've had standardized formats where we've all taught the same thing, and it makes it a bit rigid. But we've never been able to teach everything. And if there is a high priority, I'll use the example of proper venting of gas, equipment. That was a big change in Chapter 8 of the NFPA 54. Very important point to make about not venting gas indoors, basically. So if we saw that and identified it, we would certainly drive that point home. Or if we thought that this is something that should be common to all of the curriculums, certainly the board can make that recommendation to all the approved CEU providers. Say, you have this a la carte menu, but like an OSHA class, there's certain mandatory minimums, but we'd want to identify that in the next 30 to 60 days before people finalize their programs for approval.
Okay, thank you.
And Kimberly, this is the first time that I talked about doing an a la carte situation here. So this way, because I had heard a lot from the different shops, there's really not a lot of it in there for us. We're wasting our time. There's not enough that relates to what we do, this and that. I just thought by opening up this to different changes and especially this year in our transition going into the 21, I thought this would be a good time to spell all that stuff out. And thanks, Vinny, for the explanation. I appreciate it. Does anybody else have any questions?
If I could call for the vote.
Yep, Vinny has a motion on the floor to vote for the draft outline for the 22-23 continuing education curriculum for the plumbing piping examining board. Do we have a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Peter. Is there any further discussion from the other members of the board? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The board will excuse me, I have to go. Thank you.
Bye, Vin. Deny? Abstain? So moved. Thanks, Vin. Bye. Okay, I think that does it. Does anybody have anything under, say, new business? Or anything that you want to bring to the board?
We do have somebody in here. His name is Felix. He was at the last meeting from Benjamin Franklin. So, and he did raise a question. He was interested in the book that you were showing. So, whenever you want him to speak, I can.
Please, yeah, bring Felix in, please.
Hey, Chuck.
Chris.
going.
What's that, Chris? I didn't catch the last sentence.
I got a 2 o'clock appointment
Bye.
after the.
Bye.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Bye, board.
Thank you.
Hold on, Chris.
Good day, Chuck. Chris.
Take care.
Hi,
Hi,
Mr.
Chris.
Chuck, this is Felix. Just, I would like to buy it if you can. If you guys tell me the cost of it.
I'll be honest with you, Felix, it's a state of Connecticut document. It can be downloaded, I believe, but I will be happy if you call my, or you know what, if you send to Karen Lehman, plumbing board, director here today,
Got my email.
if you could get email, I will forward over that document to you so you have it. Very interesting, very good to have. It is the Connecticut State Building Code, says it right there.
Okay.
Amendments, deviations, it's got everything down. There's a lot to it. As I became a state building official licensure last year, even though I don't work for a municipality or the state, by taking that class, I was able to have this book given to me, and it was a training document and a document. This is actually a code book, really. This is the code for Connecticut. So it adds, it amends, it removes. Just I want you to be aware that inside that book, there's some areas that is crossed out that Connecticut doesn't. It's been removed for a reason. I want to kind of show you in a way. They've X'd out a lot of stuff. So I don't want you to think that everything is, I don't know the word to say because I'm not the state building official, but
That's
there's
fine.
areas that have been crossed out entirely. Okay. So of a certain area, but Felix, yeah, share that with your information with Karen, and I'll be happy to send over a email link for you.
Thank you very much. And one more thing is classes for next year. Can we possibly think about doing these classes online basis? I know each provider is different.
I'm not sure where the Department of Consumer Protection is looking at that right now. I'm not sure where the governor, I know our emergency executive order has been done with. That's why everybody has to go back into person, into class. But at this time, it's back in person in class. It's not
Okay.
virtual.
Okay, thank you.
Felix, thank you, sir. Anybody else have any questions? Am I missing anything, Karen, at all?
I think so.
Okay, Felix's hand is still up.
I think that's,
That's old? Okay.
yeah, I can lower that. There you go.
Aaron, how you doing over there in that water rig? You okay with everything?
It's on autopilot. He's about out of drill rods. I'm gonna have to start doing something.
Okay, all right, you guys. Hey, we had a really, really great productive meeting today. I want to thank everybody for taking the afternoon off and being here. And Kimberly, thank you for the great question. And keep them coming, okay? And Jay, as always, Mr. President, Pete Alfieri, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate it, Mr. President. All right, well,
Cynthia, thank you.
everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Probably will see you till the next meeting, right?
Roger that.
All right.
All right,
Have a nice
thank you.
holiday, everyone.
You all as well.
Bye.